Morning, guys. Actually, should I say evening, guys? It's 10:08 at night. It's the 18th of November, 2021, Thursday. What I've been doing is logging into YouTube to check up on what's happening these days.
Seen from the moon, and this beautiful eclipse. This is just an.
I got it's Park Observatory, Los Angeles area. Apparently, we have a partial lunar eclipse, not total, but partial. There are differences between eclipses when you're talking about Earth and the Sun. And one's safety and one's not safety. Lunar eclipse, we have the Earth's shadow going onto the moon. See if we can do this right. Use a little experiment here. Pretend the green bottle is the sun. This is the Earth. I said pretend. This is the moon. Now, Astronomy 101 will be teaching you these days, even the basic astronomy books out there, is how our planets revolve around the sun. Either clockwise or counterclockwise, or like clockwise. There are some orbits of moons and some of the planets we have are going counterclockwise, and kind of trippy a bit, but centrifugal force will do that to you. I'm not a physicist. I'm just an amateur and anything and everything trying to explain something here. But basically, for the Earth, it usually revolves around the sun. 365 days a year. Leap year is a human conception. It is not a mathematical and scientific principle, but it is a Gregorian situation here. So we're dealing with a Gregorian calendar. So every 4 years we get an extra day called leap day. And it screws up our leap year. Every 4 years we get an extra. I don't know how it works. Apparently when you're born on a leap year, that extra time, that extra day added to it, your calendar may show you may be this age, but your body biological will show you at a different age. That's pretty damn weird, I'll tell you, for a leap. But in this situation here, what we're dealing with the Earth, so going around the Sun. Now, at the same time, the Earth is also being orbited around the Moon. We'll run it like this. And when it comes down for eclipses, the dangerous ones that we have are the solar eclipses. That means during the daytime, at certain points, the shadow of the moon will be at a particular section or area where it'll go right in front of the sun and pass by it. Most of the times we don't even notice the damn thing because it's not doing a shadowy thing on us. I tell you, I'm an amateur at this thing, so it's been a hell of a long while, and I probably need to take Astronomy 101 back at college. But as much as I understand, the shadow of the moon crosses the Earth, especially when it's crossing the sun. Now, also keep this in mind. we also spin as we are orbiting. And this, well, we haven't seen it spin, have we? Just a constant, but it does show a constant phase to us all the time. Don't ask me how that works. Orbital mechanics is never one of my specialties anyway. But even at a certain point or junction, the shadow of the moon, or actually the moon itself is crossing the sun's path, leaves a bit of a crossing of the moon over here in the form of a shadow. Now, in certain circumstances, there'll be a thin line where the moon crosses, and the sun's still shining on it while we have daylight. Outside of the umbra area, named right, over the total eclipse area, we have partial. It's only in a strip that usually goes across the Earth one way or another, usually diagonally wise, that it shows a completely darkened area. Now, I'm saying this is dark because the one thing that the astronomers actually discovered is when the moon is crossing over, it's producing a hell of a lot of radiation. Now, we can look at the sun without the moon crossing over, without us realizing the moon is crossing over. And we're not going to be faced that much because there's not that much radiation coming through. The problem is when the moon crosses the pathway here. As I said before, there are certain angles that happens. There are certain orbital mechanics have to happen. So we have the shadow of the moon crossing the Earth. And when that happens, we have a bit of radiation coming from the sun that we can actually see. But the problem is, it's so intense on the ultraviolet side that it starts ruining the eye. And people have gone blind. That's why there are certain machines and certain techniques out there to see the eclipse of the solar kind to protect us. And they're pretty fascinating to see every so often. Even so, it's still a dangerous thing. Tonight, all the way through 4 o'clock, or 3:30 maybe, we have the Earth in its darkened phase for some of us, crossing the moon's pathway. But the shadow of the moon is crossing the Earth. Now, this is not dangerous to us, because what we're showing is Earth's shadow being played on the moon's surface. In certain areas, we can see a completely reddish to a near darkened object. Nearly red. I mean, nearly black in here. Just for a few minutes. Then it starts broadening back up again. And you can see it at night. When the moon starts turning into a reddish object, you see this red shadow going across the moon's surface slowly. You can see it with the naked eye, but you can also view it closer with binoculars. And it's this kind of eclipse that we can all enjoy without special equipment, unless you have telescopes and binoculars to enjoy the thing. You just watch it by naked eye. And it's not harmful, because there is no radiation coming from the moon. The moon, every time we see the full moon, we are seeing the sun being reflected off the moon, the sun's light being reflected off the moon's surface. We are at different angles. We are at different angles at this point, where we're not going to be affected by the solar radiation hitting the sun, hitting the moon at any time. So we won't be able to have any visual problems, not even problems with our eyes, because we are seeing reflected light from the sun onto the lunar surface, and we're seeing this on Earth. And when Earth is coming into this kind of a range, we are seeing a shadow coming across. Turns it into a little bit of a red, then turns it into a darkened sphere. And for some areas, we can see just partial red. And it's still fascinating to see anyway. But in certain areas, in certain selected narrow-banded areas, we can see the whole darkened process. Now keep this in mind, this is all at night. This is all at night, so this is very safe for us to see this. It's only when we are dealing with the solar eclipse that it changes things completely, because the moon has a smaller diameter than we do, and maybe closer to the sun than we are. And of those angles, when it's a total solar eclipse, we can see the disk of the moon covering the sun, slowly but surely, until it gets that blackened phase, and then you can see the radiation pouring from the sun. In that few moments, is the most deadliest radiation coming out that can hurt the eyes. That's why we have to keep looking away from the sun, sunglasses, to be worn if we're going to be looking not at the sun. There are special lenses, there are special carbon lenses out there that people can actually get from different places to see the sun as it's going through its own eclipse, and we can actually see the process. There's also the cheapest way of doing it is by getting 2 pieces of cardboard or cardboard and a piece of paper, and you put a pinhole or hole into the cardboard, and you kind of raise it up a little bit, and then you have the sheet here. When you get this angle of the sun right, you can actually see the moon crossing over. Amateur scientists and amateur astronomers can do that, and they also have their own special equipment for it. Or else you find these special solar glasses. You can actually see the sun. But don't look at it directly during those eclipse times. It's only during the solar. But during the lunar time, go outside and enjoy. Go outside and enjoy. And if you don't want to do that, well, there's certainly online on YouTube and different social medias out there that you can actually watch it. In fact, sometimes even the news media will catch them on it too. They'll catch the start of it. So right now it's about 23 after, and I'm going outside to see what's going on. So